started filming, made this video, and then I approached Riley with it, and I was like, I really want to put it on YouTube and see what happens.
Everyone sees Sailing La Vagabonde as the definition of a perfect life. Endless blue water, total freedom, and a young family growing up in paradise. It looks effortless, almost unreal. But what if that picture only exists because the darkest moments were edited out? Behind the sunsets and smiles are moments of real fear, pressure, and decisions that changed everything. Moments where the dream nearly collapsed, and the ocean reminded them who was really in control. This isn't about jealousy or hate. It's about the hidden cost of living a life millions wish they had, and the heartbreaking reality no thumbnail can show. What pulled people in wasn't just sailing, it was the promise of escape. Sailing La Vagabonde didn't feel like a travel channel at first. It felt like proof that another life was possible. No office, no routine, no fixed address. Just wind, water, and the idea that freedom was something you could build with your own hands. Viewers weren't just watching videos, they were watching a blueprint for leaving everything behind. As the channel grew, so did the image. Crystal clear anchorages, calm family moments, kids who looked happier than most adults stuck on land. Over time, that image hardened into something almost untouchable. The perfect life label followed them everywhere, whether they wanted it or not. And once millions of people believe you've figured life out, there's an unspoken expectation to keep proving it. But the dream didn't just exist on the water anymore, it lived online. Every voyage helped pay for the next one. Every upload mattered. The boat, the tia, it wasn't only a home, it was the set, the office, and the income source all at once. That's a lot of pressure for anyone, especially when your audience expects inspiration, not uncertainty. The more polished the videos became, the more the fantasy grew. And with that fantasy came a quiet trap. Because when your life is built on showing freedom, admitting fear feels like failure. Showing cracks feels risky. And slowing down feels impossible. It looked like total control from the outside. But beneath the calm surface, the stakes were rising. And soon the ocean would remind them that no lifestyle, no matter how beautiful, is ever truly safe. Living at sea sounds peaceful, but the reality is constant awareness. There's no pause button when your home is floating. Weather changes fast. Equipment fails without warning. And when something goes wrong, help isn't a phone call away. It's hours or days out. That pressure never fully leaves, even on the calmest days. Now add kids into that equation. Every decision carries more weight. Routes aren't just about adventure anymore, they're about safety, sleep, and keeping things stable in an environment that's anything but predictable. When viewers see playful moments on deck, they don't see the late nights checking forecasts, double-checking systems, or quietly asking, is this still the right choice? There's also the mental load no one talks about. The same ocean that looks endless and freeing can feel isolating. Friends and family are far away. There's no off-season, no private struggles. Everything happens in the same tight space, with cameras nearby and an audience waiting. Even joy comes with responsibility, because joy is part of the product. And the truth is, freedom becomes complicated when it depends on consistency. Miss uploads, and people worry. Change direction, and speculation starts. Slow down too much, and the comments fill with questions. What started as sharing a journey slowly turns into managing expectations, even when your real life doesn't match the script. From the outside, it still looked magical. Sunsets, laughter, calm seas. But behind the scenes, the cost of that freedom kept climbing. And all it takes is one moment, one mistake, one unexpected emergency for the entire dream to feel dangerously fragile. There was a moment that shattered the illusion of control. Not a storm, not a breakdown at sea, something far more personal. In one video, they revealed that their son suddenly stopped breathing. No dramatic music, no buildup, just raw fear. The kind that freezes your body before your mind can catch up. In that instant, the ocean, the boat, the dream, none of it mattered. What mattered was that they were far from hospitals, far from specialists, and completely responsible for keeping their child safe. Later, they explained it was linked to a severe allergic reaction, something they hadn't fully understood until it was already dangerous. But at the time, there were no answers, just panic, adrenaline, and the terrifying thought of how badly things could have ended. That video hit viewers hard because it broke the fantasy. This wasn't curated adventure anymore, this was real-life bleeding through the edit. Parents watching didn't see influencers, they saw themselves. The fear was universal, and suddenly the question changed from "How amazing is this life?" to "Is this life worth the risk?" After that moment, things felt different. You could sense the weight in their decisions. The smiles were still there, but so was caution. Safety wasn't just a checklist anymore, it was a constant presence. Every choice carried that memory. They kept sailing, they kept filming. But once you faced something like that, the dream is never the same. And as heavy as that moment was, it wasn't the last time the ocean would test how fragile their perfect world really was. Then came the night no one saw coming. No buildup, no warning, just impact. While anchored and asleep in Japan, their boat was suddenly struck by a fishing vessel in the dark. One moment, their home was calm and still. The next, it was chaos, metal scraping, shock, the sickening realization that something had gone very wrong. This wasn't an on-camera challenge or a dramatic sailing mishap for views. This was real danger happening while their family was below deck. The damage was serious enough to stop their journey completely. And what made it worse was how vulnerable the situation was. They weren't sailing, they weren't moving, they were resting, doing everything right, and it still happened. For people watching from the outside, it was hard to process. The ocean had always been framed as freedom, but this moment exposed the other side of it. You can prepare endlessly and still be powerless when someone else makes a mistake. When your home is floating, safety is never guaranteed. After the collision, everything slowed down. Repairs, inspections, long days stuck in limbo. There were also complications they couldn't fully explain, legal issues, insurance questions, and details they chose to keep private. The channel went quieter. And when you've built a life around constant motion, being forced to stop hits harder than people realize. This wasn't just damage to a boat. It was a reminder that the dream could be taken away in seconds. And once that reality sets in, you don't look at calm seas the same way again. What followed wasn't dramatic. It was heavy. No big speeches, no cinematic recovery arc, just uncertainty. The kind that drags on quietly while the camera stays mostly off. Repairs take time, answers take longer. And when something happens in a foreign country, even simple steps become complicated fast. They were careful about what they shared next, and that silence spoke louder than any update. Viewers noticed the change immediately. Fewer uploads, less movement, more questions than explanations. Speculation filled the gaps, but the truth was simpler and harder to show. Some parts of real life don't fit into a story format, especially when legal and financial issues are involved. Behind the scenes, every decision mattered. Fix the boat or rethink everything. Push forward or pause the life they'd built. When your home, income, and identity are all tied to one vessel, damage isn't just physical, it's emotional. It forces you to confront how fragile the entire setup really is. There was also pressure from a direction most people don't consider. When thousands of people help fund your dream, stopping feels like letting them down. Even when the reason is completely out of your control, that weight doesn't disappear just because something goes wrong. The ocean was calm again. The sunsets returned. But something had shifted. The carefree momentum was gone, replaced by caution and reflection. And as they slowly worked through the aftermath, one question lingered beneath everything else. How many times can you push your luck before the dream finally pushes back? Sailing La Vagabonde was never a lie. The beauty is real. The freedom exists. But so does the cost. What looks like a perfect life is actually built on constant risk, pressure, and moments most people never see. Fear doesn't disappear just because the view is incredible. And stability doesn't magically come with choosing a different path. Their story isn't a warning against chasing dreams. It's a reminder that every dream has weight. The ocean doesn't care about followers, and the internet doesn't always care about reality. Somewhere between those two forces, they've had to grow up fast, make hard calls, and carry responsibilities far heavier than a camera can show. The tragedy isn't that something went wrong. It's that perfection made it harder to admit when things were fragile. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Behind every perfect life online is a version of the story that never makes it to the screen. And that unseen part is usually the most human of all. As the journey continued, a different kind of pressure started creeping in. Not from the ocean, but from the audience. Sailing La Vagabonde was no longer just a personal adventure. It was a business, a brand, and a community project all at once. And when that happens, every change gets noticed. Some viewers began pointing out how the content felt different, more polished, more structured, less spontaneous. The launch of projects like Sea People, along with sponsorships and partnerships, sparked quiet debates in the comments. To some, it looked like growth. To others, it felt like the dream was being packaged and sold back to them. That kind of scrutiny is hard to escape when millions of people feel emotionally invested. Fans don't just watch, they compare. Old videos versus new ones. Then versus now. And once that comparison starts, it's impossible to satisfy everyone. If you monetize, you've changed. If you don't, you're being irresponsible. Either way, someone's disappointed. What makes it harder is that this pressure doesn't turn off when the camera does. Every upload carries expectations. Every decision gets analyzed. And when your real life includes fear, setbacks, and exhaustion, pretending everything is still effortless becomes draining fast. From the outside, it still looked like success. Numbers were strong. Support was there. But success comes with its own trap. When your identity becomes tied to inspiring others, admitting doubt feels risky. Slowing down feels dangerous. And that's the quiet conflict many never see. The ocean tests your survival. The internet tests your image. And balancing both can be more exhausting than any storm.